Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining. We'll just take another moment or so. I know some people are still joining us, so we will begin here in just a moment. Thank you. Perfect. I think um, the attendees have stopped trickling in, Diane, so I think we can begin.
Yep. Okay. First of all, I want to thank everyone for joining this webinar today. My name is Diane Napoleon. I'm sure I've spoken to many of the attendees here today, but I am happy to introduce Dima and this webinar today that's focused on the administration portal, how it functions, how it'll help you with the administration of your benefit plan, and some general administration rules will be discussed today too, along with some of the changes you can expect to see as of April 1st with the changes in our administration. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Dima, for putting together this webinar, and we can go ahead and start whenever you're free.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Diane. And welcome, everyone. I echo Diane's sentiments. We really thank everyone for joining today. So my name is Dima Shechem. I basically lead the team here at GreenShield, who manages with Oasis's support and who will manage as of April 1st the benefits administration for yourselves, your organization, and your employees. So we welcome you here with us today. We will do a few things today. We will go over a couple of points, as Diane mentioned, but more importantly as well, you will be able to see what our portal looks like if you haven't already. A few housekeeping items just before we begin. I'm sure you've noticed the mics and the video has been muted. This is just because we're going to, of course, be sharing this recording. You've, I'm sure, noticed that we are recording as well. So this will be shared so that you can view it at a later date, or of course, should you have new colleagues or new administrators that join in the future and they'd like to reference this for their knowledge, it will also be available. That doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you. So you will notice at the top there is a Q&A box. So I really encourage anyone that has any questions as we're going through the material to please put a question in the box. We will definitely address it throughout our presentation or towards the end. If there's anything that we need to get back to you on, of course, we will as well, or we'll inform you what next steps could be. But please go ahead, don't be shy. I'm sure if you're thinking of a question, everybody else here is as well. So go ahead, please, and put in your questions. So I do have with me today members of my team who will also be supporting as we walk through. Wonderful. So I will begin. Before we kind of get started, of course, I'd like to share the agenda for today. So really, we will go over kind of what are the key administrative functions that yourselves as administrators will be performing in our tool. So as you know, of course, today you're used to your Oasis administrator that supports you for any type of benefit day-to-day administration question. That will be where the shift is going to happen. So as of April 1st, GreenShield administration, GreenShield will support your day-to-day administration. That means any questions that you have going forward, any support that you require, you will be able to get that support directly at GreenShield and not through your administrator. So today, of course, will be one of the things we'll talk through is what can you and what will you be actually actioning in our system. And always remember, of course, as I'm walking you through, you will have support. So that support is going to be twofold. One, there will be a call center where you'll be able to pick up the phone. Agents will be available to answer exactly the type of question that you could be having, whether it's adding an employee to coverage, how to terminate, where to view your invoices. All of that will go through, of course, but you will also have a call center support when you need it. And then in addition to that, my team and myself are here to support as well. So in a couple of weeks, you will receive communication that'll tell you where to contact for any administrative questions outside of the call center. So let's say it's something a little bit more complex that you'd like our input on, or you need to notify us of a certain type of information, we will provide you with that contact. So really important to kind of have that in the back of your mind as you sit back and watch what I'm kind of going to demo today is, yes, all of these actions are available and you will be taking these actions in our system, but you will also have the support that you need at GreenShield directly as well to help walk you through some of this after, of course, April 1. Then we'll go through the demo. We'll talk about some important dates and, of course, some administrative reminders around how certain things you need to keep in mind when transacting in the system, whether it be a late entry applicant, what are the rules about adding employees to system, what about terminating, we'll go over some of those. And then, of course, we'll close off our session with some next steps. So April 1st is fast approaching here in 3 weeks. You will be hearing from us, hopefully not too much, but just enough between now and the end of the month where you will receive things like guides, contact details, just additional resources to make sure that you have everything you need for the 1st of April. And then, of course, questions we can address throughout if it's related to what you're seeing on screen, but we definitely will keep some time at the end as well. So what are we going to really see here today? What am I going to be able to demonstrate for you today? So we will be showing how to add employees to coverage, how to terminate, if that's something that, if some of you have, I'm sure, gone ahead and done that already in our system. For those that it is new, we will definitely show you. Of course, anyone that's here is already an authorized contact for our system, for our administration portal. You have been given this access. So just as a reminder, of course, that continues to be true going forward. It's only really authorized contacts that have access to the system and should transact. So I recommend please ensuring that only those that need access get it. And definitely that keeps, with our confidentiality and just the data integrity of the information that you're seeing. You'll also be able to see today how do we update employee information, updating dependents as an example, or updating an employee's date of birth, how to transfer for those of you that need to transfer an employee from one class to the other. Of course, viewing information, a lot of the time also you want to go into the tool to really understand what coverage do employees have and where can you view that easily and quickly. And of course, downloading monthly premium statements and other premium documentation information as well. I will show you where all that is located in the system. And then, of course, there are also other documents like confirmation statements, beneficiary forms that you will be privy to for your organization and your employees specifically. So I will now take us to the demo. And of course, just as I'm logging in here, I will remind everybody that it is certainly a test site that you're viewing here today. Any and all information that you're seeing on screen is all test information. It is the exact same look and feel, the exact same system. However, it is test data. So before I kind of take you through, I will log out to kind of show you what that looks like. Again, you would have received an email when you joined the organization or when you basically became the administrator or were given access. At that point in time, you would have had to set up your password for the first time. And what that means is that every time you log in again, it's simply that email and password that you're entering in. So I will just go ahead and log in. Perfect. As you can see at the moment, we are on the home page of the administration portal. You'll notice that there are kind of two different sections, I would say, or maybe three if you'd like. We can navigate easily here on the left side panel, which we will. I will kind of show you the various steps. Or there is that kind of main section in the middle where you can either type an employee's name. If you know their certificate ID, you can go ahead and enter that and hit search, or you can simply just hit search, and then you will receive, in front of you will be displayed a list really of your employees. You'll notice here there's a check mark that says if you want to exclude terminate members, you can. Otherwise, you can just keep it as checked or checked off, depending on what it is that you're looking for. For the purpose of today, I'll just exclude for now. So really the important thing is how to find employees. I guess first and foremost, type in their name or cert ID if you know that. Otherwise, I would suggest just hit search. And of course, you can also notice that if you'd like to search with a subset of classes, let's say as an example, I want to only search by part-time contract employees in this situation. For today's example, I can hit search, and I don't have anyone in that category. If I can hit search, and now you'll see I have, of course, 3 full-time employees, as you can see. So really completely up to you. The system is really designed to allow you to narrow down as much as you'd like, but not, not really, or you can search kind of for across the board. One kind of question that we've received in the past is, are you able to, now that you're on this page, are you able to, extract this particular, view? Can you sort? Let's say as an example, you wanted to sort on status, or let's say date of birth, if you're looking into specific data for an employee. The answer is no, unfortunately. We don't have a kind of a sort function or an extract function here, but you certainly have the information at the top. I'm just going to click on the Q&A in the chat just to see if there's anything here while we go through. Okay, perfect. Okay, wonderful. So the first thing we'll do is simple. We will open up one of these accounts. So I will go ahead and open this one up. To open up the account, it's as simple as clicking on that hyperlink of that individual's name. You'll notice it brings you to the same screen. So you won't have, when you're navigating our tool, you won't really ever have multiple, everything kind of opens up in the same screen for you to just make it simpler and make it, easier for who's using our system. And here is that kind of left-hand navigation that I was mentioning, where you'll see, the employee's demographic data. You can also, for example, demographic data, by that I mean, date of birth, employment start date, where do they reside, where do they work. So obviously these are all important things that you would need to kind of keep track of for your employees. And then at the bottom, as we scroll down, if you notice, these are the same panels the same headings, I would say, for the panels that you see on the left. So address, we have it up here, benefits as well. So think of it as really the same information, but you are essentially navigating it either through this kind of main, I would say, section, or on the left-hand side here. Perfect. So I will go ahead and go up a little bit. So just certain things that you'll notice. Of course, we are in the profile section. We have earnings, of course, that is important, benefits, dependents. So all the various components of an employee's, I would say, profile are within these different tabs. So as an example, if you ever wanted to look for, what is an individual's earnings, you're reviewing certain information with them or with potentially your HR group, you can certainly click on earnings and you'd be able to see not only, of course, what the earnings amount is, but what the effective date is. We will discuss kind of adding salary and everything when we go through how to add an employee, but just really wanting to highlight that these various tabs are here and available for yourself as well. And then example, the benefits tab. That's one that I know is very frequently used by, of course, employees, but yourselves as administrators as well. This is, of course, as I said, a test kind of scenario. However, if you clicked on the benefits tab, you would be able to see what an individual has in coverage today. So if there's ever any question around what coverage does someone have, or do you need to kind of review potentially what the cost of the benefit or the employer portion, if there's an employee portion as well, certain times there's a bit of a cost sharing going on, you are able to see all of that in the benefits tab as well. Of course, address, if we have a home address, it'll appear there. Some of this, of course, is just blank sections because it's a test environment. But as an example, beneficiaries would be there. So this is really if someone ever added a beneficiary on system, you would be able to see their beneficiaries in that section, but also in another section that I'll show you in the documents in just a moment. And then lastly, I will just click on documents. Think of documents as the tab where you go and look for any type of system generated document that the system would have generated for that employee. So as an example, we have a beneficiary designation, we have a confirmation statement here, and just note that anything you see on this page, the employee has the same exact view in their tool when they log into the system. They see what you see and you see what they see. And really the intent for that is just to ensure that it's all seamless and that you have the same access to information as your employees do should they log into their profile, which we'll discuss in a moment. All right, I'll just click up on profile. And perfect. And at the moment, what I'm seeing here, of course, is the member details. And as I mentioned, you are able to make changes. So as an example, let's say you added this employee a while back, which we'll look at how to do in just a moment, but you notice the date of birth, as an example, is incorrect and is off by a day. You can go ahead and make that change. So I will go ahead and choose today's date as an effective date. The effective date, not just for this, but in general, it's essentially, think about it as the date any change is effective in our system. So it's important to, of course, have the correct date in mind. And when we go through adding an employee, I'll explain a little bit more what I mean there. In this case, I will make the change effective today. Or let's say they joined us last week. I'll make it effective last March 2nd. And the date of birth, as an example here, it's not December 27th. It's the 28th. I can make that change in the system immediately. And everything else remains the same. You certainly don't need to edit anything else. That data has already been stored and is already in our system and accurate. So you simply would need to hit the save button. So what that means now, just to kind of discuss a little bit of where this data goes. So the data is updated in our system here, which is wonderful. It's instant, meaning that it's already been updated. What that then means is that information will flow over to the claiming system so that the employee, let's say, was having trouble maybe making a claim because their date of birth was wrong. All that is now corrected in this one transaction. The date of birth is corrected, and that will then flow to, as I mentioned, the claiming system in order for that system to also be updated. So it's really real time. Any change you make here will flow in 2 to 3 business days to the claiming system. So that's just an example of one piece of information that you can change. Of course, you can make other changes. Let's say the start date was incorrect, which is, I know, certainly isn't something that's very common. However, you can. Or let's say an employee mentioned to you that, their child, again, either their name has been added incorrectly for whatever reason, and you need to make that change for them. They can also go into the system and make that change. However, you can certainly do it for them. So I will go ahead and make that change so you can take a look. Sometimes it's a little bit slower because it's our test environment. And now you see the change has been made. So of course, these changes, I know you would be requesting certain information from your employees before making any types of changes, but from a process perspective, the system will allow you to make these updates. So if I go back to profile, again, we are in kind of that same section. We'll scroll down. You'll notice these are the other kind of pieces of information that we've mentioned. One piece that I'd like to kind of share as well is that transfer piece. So you notice on the right side here, you have edit, which we've just selected. We have transfer, and then there's terminate. So really think of it this way. You are able to make edits or changes. Of course, if an employee, let's say, is eligible to move from one class to the other, you are able to initiate that change. And of course, when an employee no longer is with your organization, you are certainly able to remove them from coverage, which is important, and terminate coverage. I'll start with the terminate. It's very important to ensure that these are being managed in a timely fashion, where they essentially, I know things can certainly happen, but we really want to restrict kind of the retroactive termination to 1 month, meaning if a colleague has left, in, let's say, February, let's say 30th, perfect, you're within the month, you can go ahead and make the change. If it's retroactive, we will recommend that you contact GreenShield directly. All of this will be shared in those documents that I mentioned at the beginning of the call, our guide. So these reminders will come to you as well. But just, I believe this is kind of your current practice regardless. So should not be anything new. It's simple termination. I will just be cautious around the date that you are terminating an employee. So here, this employee is no longer with the organization. They are now terminated effective March 2nd. And it's important that, let's say, you select the most appropriate termination reason, in which this case, for today's sample, we are saying that they resigned. So I would go ahead and hit terminate. And now you'll notice the status, which is of course important, is showing as removed. So if I go back to the main page, so you just a simple click under members and then search, you'll notice because I have this checked off as exclude, I now have only the 2 employees here. If I include them, there we go. We have the one that we just terminated. So I will click on another employee. And of course, if there's anything, I'm just looking at the Q&A in the chat. I don't think I see any questions, but please don't hesitate if there's anything to go ahead and put that in there. And now I just want to quickly show the transfer function. By now, I think you kind of have an understanding of our system. The first thing that it'll ask you for is that effective date. So again, very important okay, perfect. I do see some questions. I was concerned that that function was not working, so we'll get to those. The effective date's an important piece again. It's telling the system when to apply that transfer, when to apply, thank you, yes, I did see the questions, thank you, when to apply that change in our system. So in this case, I'm going to put, let's say it was supposed to be effective Friday. Oh, excuse me, it cannot be retroactive. So let's just say it is today. We will select the location, the class, and we are transferring the individual to a part-time, and we are selecting the plan. So I'm just going to hit, of course, again, before you make any change, I would just recommend that you take a look and you ensure that it's the correct data that you're wanting to input. Of course, as you saw, there is capability to edit. So please don't be concerned. Again, call center will be there to support in addition to the administration team at GreenShield. So no worries if there's ever anything that you need to edit. However, of course, just always recommend to kind of look at that. So now you see we have gone ahead and transferred this individual. So that means that if there's a change from a premium perspective, a benefit standpoint, anything to that effect, those changes will now apply effective the date of transfer. All right, perfect. Let me just take a quick peek here. There's actually a very good question here around edit functionality. So if you're on the call today and you do not have the ability to edit, that would potentially could be one of two things. Either the setup was done based on a request where it was essentially maybe not edit to begin with, and now maybe the role has expanded and you do require to make those edit functionalities. If that's something that you are kind of seeing for yourself, I would recommend that you contact your OASIS administrator prior to April 1st. There would be potentially a new form to complete with a signature from a director or someone from your organization to authorize that change. So that could be that some of you may need that updated. And then let me just take a quick peek at some of these questions. Effective date, depending on the transaction, it can be future dated, which we can take a look at in just a moment, or it can be retroactive. And I do also have a question around the Documents tab. Everyone should see that Documents tab. It is not restricted by access, but we will definitely take a look and see if that person that asked the question has access to that. So again, someone is asking around, today, your OASIS representative, your benefits administrator, your support at OASIS is the individual that is doing, the terminations that I just showed or the salary changes that I will show in a moment. Is that available at GreenShield? So certainly that is. It's available through this tool, meaning that the tool would assist with that. Now, if there's any additional, of course, support, yes, it is available through GreenShield. You will receive an email address. So instead of going to your OASIS administrator like you do today, we will be sharing a contact information with you, an email address where you will be able to send your questions. So let's say you have salary updates for 15, 20 people. We will be able to support, as an example, making those changes in the tool for you. However, we definitely recommend self-service because it is the quickest, the most efficient. You have access to all the information that you'll be updating with the support, of course, of our call center and the team. So absolutely, that support at GreenShield will be available. So thank you for that question. And no, there is no access change. So if there's an access update required today, let's say you're noticing you don't have an edit access, you can ask that question essentially today. You don't need to wait for the 1st of April. That is regardless of this change. So certainly I would inquire if you're seeing that you're not able to make any changes. And again, I really do want to stress that, the system is there for your benefit, but really you will have support at the call center level. So there will always be someone there to help you when you pick up the phone and call, or of course, our GreenShield administration team. So essentially you would always be able to send us a note. It's just really who you're reaching out to is different for your day-to-day administration, but also the way in which you're being supported is a little bit different. All right, let me go back to the homepage. I think I've caught a lot of the questions. I will certainly come back to some of the other questions that are being asked. At this point in time, I will just like to show, maybe this will help answer some of the questions that I'm receiving around how to add or how to remove employees, is the important function of adding an employee or adding one of your new hires, as an example, to coverage. So I will go ahead and show that. So if you remember, I was on the other page, I just clicked on members, or I can also just simply click on home. And then you can click on the plus sign. So really here, all that you're really doing is, again, we're trying to make it as simple as possible, as quick and efficient as possible. you select, go ahead and of course select the OASIS always, your organization, of course, what type of employee is this going to be? Are they going to be full-time or part-time? In this case, I will go ahead and select, the full-time option. The plan is the standard plan, of course, the one that this employee would be eligible for. And then the start date, I will put today's date. And of course, that can be changed, modified, depending on their effective date. Now, the important thing about this date, of course, and I know certain of plans have waiting periods, others do not, depending on, your plan and your specific kind of functions and your specific plan details. We've received questions in the past, should I wait until an employee is eligible to receive benefits, or should I go ahead and input their information or contact GreenShield regarding them if you need support, as I mentioned, on the first day of employment? We do recommend from an administration perspective that you do add the employee to the system as quickly as possible for several reasons. The first one being that the system will actually calculate for you based on the information that you input when their benefits will commence. So there's never a fear of if someone is not eligible until the waiting period has passed, there would never be a situation where their benefits would be inadvertently active. So I'll show what I mean. So I can go ahead and hit the start date. The other thing is, if you, let's say, wait a little bit, a few months, you go and you try and update this, this employee could potentially, depending on what date you're entering, we of course don't want the employee to run into any late applicant or late entrant situation, meaning employees always have to be added to coverage within 31 days of eligibility. So again, I think much simpler. The person is new. You want to help them at the beginning when they're onboarding. We would be happy to support you walk through this process when you have a new hire. So in this case, it's really important to select the actual start date. And as I said, if there's any questions or you need help as you're going through it, or you just need support in completing it, our call center and our admin team will be available. I will go ahead and put basically an account. Basically, we're adding an employee. You'll put the first and last name. You'll notice the certificate section is grayed out. That is intentional. Our system will generate a new number based on when you input this information in the system. I'll go ahead and select the gender, male. And of course, there are, you could select female or other. Date of birth. So this is, again, this information, of course, would have been given to you by your new employee. So I will just go ahead and enter a date of birth here. The language, I will select English. So this is important. It's optional, but it is important. If it's not selected, it will default to English. However, this is basically important because employees will then receive communication from GreenShield in this language. The communication email is important, and you may ask yourself, what is that? It's really the email that the employee is going to receive the information to. So the email address, where do they want their communication to come? Is it, their personal? Is it a work email? Whatever it may be, our system will accept either. However, we do suggest to put in an email here. It is required so that they can receive the communication. So as an example, you can add the employee, which I'm showing in this system, in this, process. However, employees will also be receiving an email, should you want them to, which we will show in just a moment, which will say, you've been added to the benefits program. Go ahead and now complete an additional step, meaning they will then log in and look at what dependents they want to add, sign their beneficiary form. So it's a wonderful kind of tool. So I will keep going. So their communication email is there. They reside in Ontario. Again, of course, these two pieces of information around where do they reside, where do they work, I'm sure all of you are very familiar. Just very important as it comes to premiums, taxation, just ensuring we have the correct, level of premium and payment in our system. So kindly enter in both. The salary, I'll put it as an example of 50,000, and it's annual, of course. The hours per week are also mandatory. And then we come down to what their smoker status is. So if you don't know, that's absolutely fine. You can put unknown. They can go in when they go into their system, they can make the change. If they know, you can certainly ask, are they a smoker? Have they smoked tobacco products in the last 12 months? Let's say the answer is no. In this case, we can put no. And default coverage here, it just means, do you want, when you're adding them, do you want to give them single, or do you would like to give them family coverage, and then you're going to add their dependents for them immediately, which I can show you how, or they will go in. The standard is single. We recommend that because an employee can always go in within 30 days of this action in the system. So within 30 days of adding an employee rather, they will be able to then go in and update their dependents. Or of course, you can support them in that way. So I will keep going. And in this case, you'll notice here, this is the little checkbox I was just mentioning. Invite member to portal. It says an invitation will be emailed to the member, instructing them on how to create a portal account. This basically means that as soon as you hit add member, if I'm the employee as an example, I will get an email that says you've been added to coverage, and then I would be given really, really detailed instructions, on how to create a portal account and what's required of me once I log in. As you notice, that is always checked off, meaning it is basically default checked off because this is a good piece of information for the employee to have. If you do not want them to receive that email for whatever reason, you would like to complete the enrollment for them, basically from A to Z, all the steps, including dependents, that kind of thing, you can uncheck. I do recommend, however, to keep that checked off so that the employee can also see what wonderful benefits you're offering them. And then there, you notice we have the add mandatory benefits and the waiting period. Let's say you're in a situation where you have a waiting period based on your plan. You want to waive it for this particular employee, depending on a specific scenario. You can click waive. That means that benefits would be effective today or whatever day you're adding the employee to coverage. Again, as long as you've added them within the regular 31-day period. And then add mandatory benefits. It just means that their benefits will also be provided to them in the system, basically as soon as they're eligible. So in this case, I'm just going to leave everything as is. I will add the benefits, but I will not waive the period. That just means that when they become eligible, if there's a waiting period in this plan, they will receive all benefits aligned to them. Again, you can simply scroll up if you want to check everything. Of course, as I mentioned, you'll be able to edit, so no concerns there. And at this point, I click Add Member. Wonderful. So you'll notice that immediately this employee's account has been created. You have the employment start date here of March 9th. If I click on Benefits, this is based on the example that we have today. This is a plan that does not have a waiting period, so benefits are effective today, as you can see. And what I was mentioning around, should you want to support employees, or, further, or if you have a list of dependents that they've given you and you'd like to add the dependents, you absolutely can. You would basically click on, the dependents section. And similarly to what we just did for an employee, you can go ahead and add the dependent for them. Of course, bear in mind that, there are, certain student ages you have to be aware of, that obviously, based on your plan, are they eligible? Do they meet the criteria? So of course, all of this is important. And I'm sure that this is information that you gather today. The difference is, of course, some of you may have already been doing this, but second, if you would like to do it for your employee, wonderful. Otherwise, that little checkbox of, invite member to portal, what that means is within 30 days of today, so let's say between now and April 9th, I would then, as an employee, have to enter in my own dependent information because I received a link. But if you would like, you can certainly go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into the Q&A. I know there's quite a few questions on this process as we expected. Just give one moment here and we can look at what some of those questions are. Some of them I know have been asked, but I think I've answered some based on the information that we just went through. So just give me a moment here. Perfect. I think some of this we've already addressed. A question around how do you know if your employee has access to the portal? This isn't something you can see on the administration portal. You can certainly, I would say the simplest way to find out is call the call center or send an email to the GreenShield administration team. That might be simpler than calling. If you'd like, we will quickly answer that. We are able to see that kind of in the back end, and we'd be able to guide you or guide the employee even directly through the call center around how to create an account, what do they need to do, what are the steps they need to follow. So I would say send that over to GreenShield and we can support. And then there's a question around Oasis forms around gathering this information. So that's a great question. Yes, you certainly can if you would like to complete the process, let's say for an employee from A to Z, and you want to have the paper copy of that information for your records, you can certainly ask employees to complete that. If they're giving you things like dependent data, I'm sure you want them to put that somewhere, date of birth as an example. If they're providing all of that to you, then absolutely you may use those forms. If, however, you are simply getting the employee's demographic information, which I'm sure you receive when someone is applying to a role and completes other kind of internal paperwork, you can simply enter in the information yourself, like I just did in the system, and then the employee would be the one to get that, as I said, that kind of secondary, I guess, or email that's connected where they can then go in and update their own portion. I will say that I know this is a lot of information. So as I said, this session is recorded, but also we will be updating. There is a guide available in our administration portal. I will show you exactly where it is. Actually, I'll go there right now. If you click on organization and documents, it's there. So we are in the process, however, of updating this. So a lot of what we're discussing today, we are going to put in very detailed instructions for everyone, just to ensure that everything is super clear. But as mentioned, the call center is available, and also our admin team will be available to answer any questions as you go through. And again, this is nothing new. This tool has been available, of course, but I know the way in which you have been working today with your Oasis administrator is different. But for those of you who, let's say, have been into our system, have accessed it in the past, you will see that it's the same system. There is not a change in system or anything like that occurring. Of course, it's more so how you will use the system and how GreenShield will be able to basically support you as you go through any changes after April 1st. Okay, I think we have one or two more questions. There's a question around where do you access, let's say, any type of letters or documents that an employee, let's say, had generated or was generated for an employee in our system. So I will go ahead and show where there's two ways. One way, of course, is you can go into as we were just looking at, go into the employees section, click on documents. However, great question, because it takes me kind of to the next step here. Under reports, you can click on member portal documents for your employee, excuse me, for your organization rather, and you will see all letters, all forms that have been generated through for that particular, let's say, employee or group of employees in the last specific period. So as you can see here, this shows 100 per page. Of course, some of you may have lots more employees than 3, I'm sure. They will all be listed there, and then you'll be able to kind of go through that, you'd like. You can also filter on the creation date. So let's say you wanted to look at all forms in February, you can go ahead and really do that. So you could say, anything from Feb 1st to 27th is what you'd like to see. So you're able to kind of play around with those dates. You can even select what document type you want if you're not wanting to look at kind of everything in one section. And again, we know that, the first couple of times you may need support. So definitely, I know I'm repeating myself, but I just want to make sure that it's clear that you will have the support that you need, of course, when you're going through this, if it's the first time. Yes, and again, I think there was basically a question around access. So if you today you're seeing that you do not have edit access, you can certainly contact Oasis. However, we will also be reviewing accesses, and if there's anything that's required or that's changing, we will certainly inform everyone in an upcoming communication. And then there's a wonderful question around a test environment where training new administrators. We will be providing this recording. Let's say in the future, if there's a larger group of administrators that's joining, or we're live, let's say this is after April 1st, and you would like a test environment to basically, do exactly what it is that I'm showing, we can definitely support with that. Please, just at that moment, you'll have an email address to send to, and you can contact the administration team at GreenShield directly, and we'll provide you that test credential or a copy of the recording or whatever it is to make it easier for a new administrator that's joining in the future. Great. I think I'm just taking a look at the Q&A. I believe we've caught up to most of the questions. I will go back to the presentation. Just want to make sure I can see everyone here. Yes, wonderful. So of course, we've been talking about this date a lot. Certainly April 1st is the date in which we will be transitioning to this new model, meaning rather than contacting your Oasis benefits administrator today, you would be contacting GreenShield. So again, whether that's by phone, by email, all those good details will be provided to you the week of March 23rd. So you will have everything well before the 1st, so that we can certainly begin supporting any questions that you may have at that point. And I will just kind of take us to the next slide here. Just some reminders. I know a lot of this we've talked through, and this will also be shared with yourself if you'd like a copy of the presentation. We discussed, of course, that authorized contacts, which we already mentioned, are the ones accessing the portal, which is why all of you are here today, which is wonderful. And just really to remember, administrative rules, such as, when you're looking to add an employee, really they're eligible within that 31 days of eligibility. Otherwise, they would be considered a late entrant. And again, we can support with questions on this in the future, terminating an employee and just making sure that, it's done within that 30-day time frame. Another important piece is salary changes. Our system can support those, and all of those steps will be in the guide. Of of course, I know today, they're limited maybe, and that we cannot show every step. One thing we just did want to mention is just remember when someone's on a leave of absence and they're away from the organization, they're not actively at work, their salary needs to remain static, meaning no updates need to occur when they're on leave. It's only when they return from work that you can go ahead and make those changes. And again, of course, as I just said, we will be providing some additional details and we'll share that great information with you within the next 2-week time frame. And I know a very important process, of course, that all of you do follow is the leave of absence reporting. So definitely that process is very much needed and critical, as I'm sure you are aware. That continues, meaning any disability, medical leave, notifications, those do continue to go to OASIS directly, to your contact there directly, not to your contact, excuse me, to the disability coordinator. So that will remain as is. Any other type of leave, let's say maternity or unpaid leave, those need to be reported directly to GreenShield. And again, we will share with you that contact list. Essentially, it'll be one email address where you receive access or support, rather, excuse me, from myself and my team. So we'll be supporting you with any types of questions when it comes to either, in this case, as I was mentioning, leave, but across the board. But just really to note that if it's a disability or sick leave, that process remains the same, because I know you do reach out directly to an individual today, the disability coordinator. That will remain going forward. And if I'll just take us to some kind of last minute next steps. So this is our kind of second in our series of webinars. We do have one more English webinar scheduled for next week. There is another French one later this week. If you need, or if you'd like to attend one of those, rather, please feel free. The content will be the same. You can attend if you'd like to ask another question, or if there's something that you'd like to review again. Absolutely feel free to register. Otherwise, the content is identical. And then, of course, the recording, which we've mentioned, and then, of course, the FAQ. So there will be a document where a lot of these questions will be combined and put forth for yourself that hopefully will help answer your questions, but also those of your employees. And then, of course, more importantly, a contact list where you'll know directly who to reach out to and when, going forward after April 1st, whether it's the call center, and they are open. I think I missed a question, apologies. They are open from 8:30 Eastern time to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. So they are available outside of, within the normal business hours, but also outside of those business hours. And then, of course, the administration team at GreenShield, there will be a direct email for that team as well. And I know, just looking at the time, we have a few more minutes. So I will go ahead and just take a peek and see if there's anything else that I can help support with today. And all these questions are great. I really appreciate everyone's interaction. This is really excellent. So thank you again for being here and just, participating. It's really, really helpful. Let me just scroll up here. I think some of these have been answered. There is a question just around, of course, April 1st being the renewal time, as we all know, and there may be some rate updates. Absolutely, that is already happening in our system. So no, that is well underway and all good from that perspective. And if there's any salary increases that need to happen for certain individuals, if it's between now and April 1st, kindly send it as you normally would to your OASIS administrator directly at OASIS. After April 1st, you will have the GreenShield contact, and you'll be able to share across. If it's a list of employees that require salary changes, as an example, we would be able to support with that as well. There was a question actually, and I did miss mentioning that. My apologies, just around the billing. And actually, maybe I can go back because we really are done with this presentation. I will just quickly go back to the site. Sorry for all the back and forth. We were in the report section, but I know all of you are potentially familiar, or it might be another individual on your team that takes care of the billing. But again, this is the same site. So the website URL doesn't change. It's the one that you've always been using. So whatever your website URL you're using, and we'll include that in our communication so you can bookmark it and have it. This, of course, is the test environment, so don't use that. But basically, under the reports section, it's the billing report. So you would come to your homepage, go to reports, and click on billing reports. That's where you basically would be able to access the billing statements on a monthly basis. And then whoever those individuals are that receive the notification every month, whether it's yourselves or let's say someone in your finance department, that will remain the same. Nothing changes from that perspective. If it is yourself who's on this call today who gets notified, that remains the same. If it is someone else, that will remain the same. But in order to access the reports, you can definitely check up on billing reports. Let me see here. We have a few more moments. I'll just quickly see if there's anything else that could be helpful. Because as I say, if one person is asking it, I'm sure all of the group potentially would want to know. And yes, again, just around the recording, that will be shared. And it will be shared also in the GreenShield portal. And then there was a question, could you be able to access it in the future? Absolutely, that is the intent. And there's a question around if an employee inputs information themselves. So in from a member portal experience, so this is the admin portal that we've been looking at, but from an employee perspective, there's only a few things that they can do in the system. Meaning, let's say when they're joined, adding their dependents, adding a beneficiary, that's one. Or if they have what we call a qualifying life event, let's say you have an employee that's just gotten married or had a baby, they are able to go into the system and they're able to what we call transact and do a life event, meaning they're able to update their benefit coverage, add their dependent, etc. But it's very clear that it says that in the system that these changes are only permitted through a qualified life event. So the question is if you want to see what an employee has input, let's say even today, and you want to see what that is. Absolutely. It's basically everything. It's basically the information that you see here. So anytime, let's say you're talking to one of your employees and they're saying, I forgot what I did, or I don't remember who I put in as a dependent. Absolutely. This is not the best example. It's blank. My apologies, but you can click on dependents and it'll be listed here. So it just anything that you're seeing in the administration portal, it means that either it was input by yourselves or when you joined, of course, with Oasis, or the employee made that change, or of course, it could be that it was something that was requested of the GreenShield team and we would have made that change. So anything that you're seeing on the portal, to make a kind of to sum up what I mean is it's exactly what the employee would also see. So that's really the great thing about this is basically see what an employee sees. There is a question around, is there a notification when an employee makes a change? No, there's not a notification every time. However, we do have reporting that we can provide for your organization specifically that shows what changes, let's say, were captured within a month or a 3-month period. That is something that we can certainly offer as well. So I'm looking at the time, and I know some have already dropped because, of course, I know everyone is extremely busy and has a very busy schedule and a lot going on, especially on a Monday. So again, I just want to thank everyone for the time that they've taken today, just for the wonderful questions and just the engaging back and forth that we've had today. Again, summary, this recording will be shared. And if there's something that you think of or you would like to join a subsequent session, please don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything that we can help support. Otherwise, look out for those documents that are coming your way between now and 2 weeks, which will include the contact details, an updated guide, and the FAQ as well. Thank you everyone for attending today and have a lovely day.